Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. Welcome to Career Coach Office Hours for June 3rd, 2022. I spend some time twice weekly on Tuesdays and Fridays offering no BS career advice. After all, people hire me for no BS career coaching advice. That could be around a job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, or support around the workplace issue. And what I do on this show is really very simple. I answer questions in much the same way as I would in a coaching session with someone. So I'll also remind you that if you've got a question, put your questions into chat. I'll come to answer them during the course of this show. Even if I have to skip some of the people who messaged me in advance. And you can message me in advance through LinkedIn. Just very simply put your messages to me through the LinkedIn messaging app. Send them to me. My page there is the Big Game Hunter. I'm sorry, linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. And all you have to do is, by the way, Barry, I have no idea. Cancel you? What are you doing here? You had to voluntarily show up to be here. So nothing I can do about that. So if you've got a question for me, put it into chat. Be very happy to answer your question. Also, visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us. There's a ton in the blog that can help you. You can also schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, find out about my courses, books, guides. There's a lot there that can help you. And by the way, with the courses, you can purchase them or rent them, but they will help you, particularly with interviewing. So again, that's thebiggamehunter.us. And I also have a YouTube channel at jobsearchtv.com, and the number one podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search called No BS Job Search Advice Radio. Next week, No BS is going to reach episode 2400. Catch that one. 2400 episodes. And I started recording in November of 2010. So it's a more than 11-year-old show that's had a lot of positive effects for a lot of people. And thus, all you need to do, very simply, is subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. There's a lot there that will help you. You can do one or the other, of course, but just subscribe. It'll help you. And in terms of the podcast, you can also watch me on Spotify, where it's a video podcast. Whatever works for you is good for me. So with that, let me start getting to questions that people have sent to me in advance, and there have been a lot of them. And the first one is, a recruiter said that the best interview question to ask to spot underrated talent is, what are the open tabs in your browser right now? Do you agree? I don't agree. It's a stupid question. Anyone with a modicum of advice, a modicum of sense, would think that perhaps, just perhaps, what you should be doing is making up the answer. It's not like you're ever going to tell someone, well, I've got a YouTube tab open where I'm watching Rodney Dangerfield or watching Saturday Night Live or something else. Yes, you're going to talk about work-related stuff. You can make that up on the fly. So given the fact that someone asking this question is encouraging you to lie, I don't think it's a good question to ask. And that's been one of my principles for a long time. Whether it's you asking them a question or them asking you a question, any question that's designed to create a situation where one side or the other is compelled to lie is a bad question. So skip that one. Really, skip that one. Next question is there a book on taking good interviews? Yeah, I happen to have a terrific book called The Ultimate Job Interview Framework. Available on Amazon. It's inexpensive. I have it also is a video course, which I think is even better because there's just more to it in the video course. Plus, you can pick up on some of the theatrics for how to answer the questions that I think make interviewing so important. After all, when you think about it, interviewing is a form of acting. And I don't mean lying, but it's you're selling your lines to the audience. So it's not just simply what you say that matters, it's how you say it along with your answer that makes a difference. So to put it succinctly, what you need to do is, whether it's the book or the course, it will teach you a framework for interviewing. I can't help you be better at what you do, but I can teach you how to package that information better. So again, whether it's the course or the book, it's the ultimate job interview framework. Okay. Next question. Do employers or recruiters, let me get to the question there, care about candidates having passed LinkedIn assessments on their LinkedIn profiles under their listed skills? I'm not sure that most really know to look for that yet. But anything that you're able to do that demonstrates expertise, a formal certification that you passed this LinkedIn assessment, any form of assessment that relates to that which you want to be hired for is beneficial to you and you're representing your knowledge. So my opinion is they don't know about it yet, but LinkedIn will make a push at some point to emphasize it. And if nothing else, it's something that you can reference in interviews, right? So again, do as many assessments, do as many certs as is relevant for you in your career. It will serve you. Can you talk to HR in confidence? And some of you are going to disagree with this opinion, but there are certain things you can talk with them about and certain things you shouldn't talk to them about. If you don't want stuff getting back to your manager and you're going to be critical of your manager, you probably shouldn't have that conversation because it will get back to them in some way, shape, or form, and it's going to have an adverse impact on your relationship with your manager. Now, I want to be clear. If you've been harassed, bullied, ignored, passed over, had a variety of things that in no way, shape, or form sit on you and your manager is non-communicative, by all means, you should out them. And in some cases, like harassment in the office, you should leave with no notice because there's no reason in my mind that you should tolerate harassment of any form whatsoever, whether it's by the manager or other people on staff who this person's not prepared to step up to the plate and put an end to. And to be clear, I'll just give you an example. I think this shows up in a later question where someone talks about being mobbed or bullied by coworkers. And this is why she wants to leave. This is why he wants to leave their current position. Don't put up with that and make a point of saying to HR, I'm in a situation where my manager is not looking out for my interests. You may think it's my fault that this is happening. It's not my fault. Let me go through the facts of this. And you list factually what has happened and that basically you're now on the outside looking in and being bullied by coworkers. They are doing things to you that are inappropriate. Now, I'm going to resign and I'm debating now whether to sue because there's no reason why this person should have allowed this to go on. But I've documented this fully, and I'm going to walk into a lawyer's office next and protect myself because of this behavior. So that I would do because there's a financial settlement you can get from this. But most of the time, if you think you can have a confidential conversation with HR, you're mistaken. Now, let me give you an example of one thing that you can, and that is if you want to be involved with an employee assistance program that exists in your firm, by all means, talk with them about how to get into the EAP at your firm. So I would say to you, be limited, never go out in the blaze of glory if you can avoid it. But there are certain circumstances where they need to be told clearly. Now, understand this former manager is never going to be a reference. Many of the coworkers are going to sell you down the toilet because they don't like you to begin with, and that's why they're driving you out the door. But you know, ideally, you want to have that next job before you just walk out. So again, the question is, can you talk to HR in confidence only under limited circumstances? The next question is, which of two options do technical leaders think is given more weight when interviewing someone? Whether you like them or whether they have knowledge? Ooh. I think the answer is it starts off with having the right knowledge to do the job. And then from there, the tiebreakers tend to be whether they like you. After all, multiple people are going to have the knowledge necessary to do this job, right? And I'm an ex-New Yorker in a city like New York with millions of people, plus the people who commute into New York. Firms have choices, but it always starts off with, is this person qualified? And if you're not qualified, it's rare that you will be hired because ultimately your manager has an accountability for a result. And if you're not able to deliver that result, they are screwed. Not you. They are screwed. They hired you, you failed, and the result is they can't deliver and they will be held accountable. So to me, the answer is it starts off with whether you have the knowledge, and then the tiebreakers are being liked. And there are always exceptions to that. Okay. Next question is, what do we have to do if we have multiple managers and each one asks you to do something different in the same task? Wow. I'll just simply say what you have to do is get the three of you, let's say two managers and you, or four of you, three managers and you, to sit down together or message all of them on the same chain, same Slack, and simply say, I'm in a bind. The two of you, the three of you are telling me different things that I must do. I can't satisfy all of you at the same time. Each of you is telling me to do this one thing first, and it's different. You guys got to get onto the same page. Tell me what you decide, and then I'm happy to go do it. But beyond that, there's nothing else that you can really do to solve this issue. It has to be pointed out to the other participants. You have to get them to decide. And if they can't sort it out, you basically have to go a level up since they're being immature and not resolving the issue. And it's going to have an effect on the outcome. And you know what? They're going to blame you. So get it solved, get them to solve it, and move on. Okay? I'm just going to remind you, if you've got a question about job search, hiring, management, leadership, or want advice about a workplace issue, put your questions into chat. I'd be very happy to get to you. Also, visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us, to schedule a time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, to visit with my blog, which has more than 12,000 searchable posts that you can watch, listen to, or read that will help you in these areas. Also, subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. Download it on Amazon if you prefer watching it on your big screen set. And subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's a video podcast, Amazon Music, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay. What is the difference between LinkedIn and LinkedIn Recruiter? Good question. LinkedIn Recruiter is a specific product that is sold to recruiting firms that allows them to search the entire. I'm sorry, I just highlighted the wrong question. LinkedIn Recruiter is a product that allows a recruiter to search the entire database on LinkedIn and message up to 100 people through InMail per month. If you respond to an InMail, that message will be credited back to their account. Thus, it's geared toward recruiters. That differs from the standard LinkedIn account, where you can message people with whom you have a first or second level connection. And thus, you're limited by your connections. Now, connections can also include groups. So if you're part of the results for, sorry, someone messaged me something on my email, but with LinkedIn, if you don't have many connections, you don't have the penetration to really see all that you need to. But if you join groups, you can message people who are a part of that group and be able to get advice from them, be introduced to people, etc. So that's the basic difference between the two. That, and there are many more filters that LinkedIn Recruiter offers people than the standard LinkedIn account does. Okay. Next question is, why didn't I get an interview for a job I was qualified for? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Your resume didn't make a case that you were qualified for it. That's it. You may think you're qualified, but you flip the same resume to them like you have for every other job. And the result wound up being that you're someone who came across like a spammer. You didn't connect the dots for them, and they're not just going to call you because you think you're qualified, submitted a resume, and they looked at it and went, I don't see a fit. So that's the reason most of the time. I used to have a second podcast called Job Search Radio, and I discontinued it a few years ago after 800 episodes. And the first show I did was an interview with a recruiter. And I started off the show by saying, on a typical Monday morning, I'll walk into at least 200 resumes. And how many do you think are vaguely qualified for the position, any position I'm recruiting for? And the answer was, if I'm lucky, 2. And I say if I'm lucky because most of the time it was 0. People keep flipping the same resume over and over again, like the broken watch that's right twice a day. It doesn't demonstrate how you fit the role that you're trying to get. Always tailor your resume prior to submitting it. Otherwise, it's junk mail. That's it. It's junk mail. And you're going to waste a lot of people's time. Okay? I remember this question. I came across your podcast and loved it. Thank you. And I'm taking you up on your offer to connect, which we did. I'm trying to transition from Australia to the US. Oops, this is going to be interesting. I just knocked my mouse into a cup of coffee. So we'll see how long this works. I'm trying to transition from Australia to the US, even though everyone says it's an employee market. Oh, I may run into a problem here. Let's see if this will work. How ridiculous. I'm not sure my mouse is going to work, which is going to end the show very early. So I'll just simply say the problem for this person is that as someone from outside the U.S., firms are reluctant to hire people from outside the country because often they perceive that there are going to be visa issues. And in having visa issues, the result winds up being that unless they can get you the legal right to work in the U.S., as qualified as you may be, they're not going to be able to hire you. So remember, as the best way to do this is to try and get a firm in Australia with U.S. offices to hire you, and that can get you on board for your next job. So my mouse is dead right now, so I'm going to bring the show to a close. I hope you found this helpful. I'm Jeff Altman. Visit my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. Go to the site and go exploring. There's a lot there to help you. And I'll just say, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the-big-game-hunter. Maybe I can keep going for a little while because I just pulled the mouse out, and I'm just going to do this manually for a little while longer. But I'm not going to put things into the show notes, into the chat. So let's go on for another couple of minutes, okay? What should a person do when she has had her offer rescinded? Okay. The answer is what you need to do is go to your employer and have a very, the firm that hired you, since it's a situation where it's an offer, you're not an employee yet. And you want to go to them and say, I resigned my position based upon the offer letter that I received from you. And now I'm adversely impacted by this decision. As a result, I need compensation. Excuse me for a second. Let's see if I can find that slot for the wireless mouse. I require compensation because I'm adversely affected by this decision to rescind the offer. So I'll just simply say, I'm harmed here, and you need to make me whole. Give me a couple of months of severance, even though I did not come to work for your firm. And this should allow me time to be able to come on board with another firm. So I would say to you, that's what you should do, is go to the firm and get them to provide a financial settlement to you that's going to allow you to remain whole and not be hurt. And if they say, but no, you're not an employee, okay, I'll get to my lawyer, and I'm sure there'll be a settlement, and they'll come back and settle with you. So I'll just simply say, folks, I'm going to bring this to a close because I can't get anything to work other than my finger, and I have to get another mouse because I have a couple of other things to do today. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you enjoyed this, even though it's far more limited than what I intended. Visit my website again, thebiggamehunter.us. There's a lot there that will help you. Also, schedule time for a free discovery call or schedule time for coaching. Find out about my courses, books, and guides. Subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube or Amazon, or No BS Job Search Advice Radio, wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. Take care.